of Jesus' teaching about love, that they have rested their case, both for the validity and the supremacy of the Christian religion. On Maundy, Thursday, the church celebrates and remembers Jesus' last night with the disciples by washing our feet during a service. Now, this is not a sacrament in mainline denominations, although it is in some Anabaptist traditions. It has ancient roots in the church. So we know as early as the 4th century, foot washing was a part of worship during Holy Week, and it was formalized in the 7th century. What we are about to do today has been done by a long, long line of Christians. And we have the blessing of continuing that tradition. It is not without controversy, however, because feet are feet. Now, we have all heard this story enough times to have forgotten its meaning long ago, pretending, that we already understand it and really don't need to hear it again. And the gospel gets repetitive sometimes, as though God knew that we would need to hear the stories over and over and over again. But there's more than Jesus says, love one another, see me do this, now go do that, that's how you love one another. There's a fuller picture, brings a fuller truth. Jesus' commandment to love one another, a new commandment, he says, must be read and understood in light of Judas and Peter. I wonder what it was like for Jesus to eat dinner, knowing that afterward Judas would leave out and begin his betrayal, and that in a few hours Peter would deny him 3 times. Think about that. But I actually don't think it bothered him that much. And not because it all had to be fulfilled or that he knew he would be resurrected in the end. I think Jesus knew us, really knew us, and really knows us. I think he lived with a sense of tragic optimism. Tragic optimism is what Victor Frankl said is the ability to maintain hope and find meaning in life despite its inescapable pain, loss, and suffering. So when we have a sense of tragic optimism or tragic hope, we're not always surprised by the fallenness of the world, by the pain people inflict upon us. We know that we live in a world that's filled with flawed humans who are doing the best they can. Brené Brown is a famous shame psychologist. An Episcopalian asked her priest once, she said, "Do you think everybody really is doing the best that they can? Like really doing the best they can?" And he thought about it for a moment, and then he said, "Yes, I think everyone is doing the best they can. In fact, I have to believe that everyone I encounter is doing the best they can." But I bet you can think of a few people who you think maybe aren't doing the best that they can. But imagine that they are. Imagine for a moment, even in their common mistakes or in their grave ones, even in the horrendous crimes against humanity, that people were doing the best that they could. Rather than locate all of our enmity, all of our anger into a few people who are evil or who have done you wrong, perhaps remember that pain and loss and suffering are inescapable, and the absence of love is the greatest pain. Our world is tragic, Jesus seems to say, and yet love anyway. Love precisely because the world is tragic. And this is what is so revolutionary about the Christian faith. So Jesus calmly eats with Judas and bends down and washes the feet of Peter, who will deny him. And he says, "Love one another. I have set for you an example, that you also should do as I have done to you." There is no vengeance, there is no hatred, there is no retribution. And as if he doesn't want them to miss it, he says, "Do you know what I have done for you?" Amidst all human tragedy, Jesus places love, and the disciples will soon find out forgiveness. After the fall of apartheid South Africa, the government initiated a Truth and Reconciliation Commission, whereby people who had committed crimes could come before a panel and face the victims they had harmed, the families of those they killed. They were not trials, but rather sessions of storytelling and truth-telling, whereby victim and perpetrator could come together to restore their shared humanity, where in asking and granting forgiveness, they could wash each other's feet. Forgiveness can feel as gross and dirty and intimate and scary as washing feet. But in a world where we will always bump into each other, this is how we love one another. Frederick Buechner describes forgiveness this way: when somebody you've wronged forgives you, you're spared the dull and self-diminishing throb of a guilty conscience. When you forgive somebody who has wronged you, you're spared the dismal corrosion of bitterness and wounded pride. For both parties, forgiveness means the freedom again to be at peace inside their own skin and to be glad in each other's presence. And that is why, as Christians, we rest our case. Amen.